Surely you feel different about how well you're doing now than how you're doing the first year. Yeah, no, I see the numbers going up. I see the upward trend. But if I map out my finances and compare it against the cost of living of a place I want to live, not looking that great in terms of being able to make it my full-time gig. And that's my marker for success, because I live in a society. You could be like, oh, well, the money isn't everything. I mean, surely if you enjoy what you're doing, you think you're having a positive impact, you're entertaining people, perhaps providing education or information or edutainment type shit. Like, surely that makes you feel good, and that's the marker for success. And I guess, sure, yeah, it is. It does make me feel good. People tell me all the time how much my videos help them in a variety of ways, but I live in a society. So I necessarily have to measure the success of what I'm doing by how profitable is it, how well does it pay my bills, and what does the prospect for my financial security look like in the future. I live in a society where I need to make money to pay for shelter, food, water. You know? So I have to necessarily mark success against that. You think about the Bing AI stuff? I don't know what that is. I have to tell you, I don't give a fuck about AI shit. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The most I'll ever give a fuck about is the way that tech bro capitalists want to try to use AI to not have to hire real people, but also not support any social safety net programs that would allow people to have a decent standard of living without a job. This is the problem of automation before AI, in that automation by itself is not bad. In fact, automation is good, because if we can automate labor that humans would typically be doing, well, that means those humans should theoretically have time to pursue other things that you do not need humans to do anymore because of the robots. Like intellectual pursuits, creative pursuits, yada, yada, yada. Other ways you can contribute to society in a positive capacity, or just live your fucking life. The problem is that automation in the current day is just used to make sure you don't have to hire humans to pay them. Because when you hire a human, you have to give them money for the job that they do, theoretically. There are some people on the right who hate humanity and want to see everybody suffer who disagree with that. But I think the general, average, reasonable person seems to understand that if a person is doing work, is doing labor for somebody else, they should get compensation for that labor. Wild thought, I know. But, you know, stay with me. So a lot of capitalists, capital owners, see automation as a way to cut costs, which increase their profit margin. The way they decide to cut the costs is through cutting labor, because labor is a cost to a capitalist. This is why the ultimate goal of every capitalist is to pay their workers the least amount of money as they possibly can get away with, as they often do. This is why minimum wage laws have to be enacted, right? Because when there weren't minimum wage laws, people were getting shafted. And the minimum wage ain't that great, federally speaking. So, if we lived in a society that was not run by capital owners who do not give a shit about anybody other than increasing their own bottom line and the bottom line for their shareholders, automation could be a good thing. Because that society would be providing for its people in such a way where they don't have to get those kind of manual labor jobs that have been automated to be able to pay their bills. That said, the main reason why we live in a service economy is because of the fact that people are not able to get higher education degrees in America in order to go into STEM fields for money or whatever to be able to pay off the loans. It's because we have made education paywalled as a way to make sure that the upper classes stay upper class. You can get Harvard law educated if your parents have the money to put you there. Otherwise, you're going to have to get lucky, maybe be very smart and, you know, work harder than 99% of Harvard law graduates and get a scholarship to be able to get to that school and pursue the degree you're going for there. The only reason there is such a thing as frivolous degrees is because degrees are only made frivolous if you live in a society that doesn't value creativity or sociological concepts and the study of them, or the pursuing of them, or if you live in a society that penalizes people for the crime of pursuing a higher education, trying to be more productive members of society like they've been told to do their entire lives. That's what America currently does. The reason why frivolous degrees exist is because education is pay to win. You have to try to go into a STEM field because those kinds of fields are the only places you're going to maybe be able to get a shot at paying off the loan you needed to get that piece of paper that says you went to that school for that amount of time. If that wasn't the case, how, other civilized, comparable countries have figured out, investing in education of your population is a good thing, actually, increases their productivity and their general happiness. If you were able to go to school subsidized by the taxpayer of which you are one, though ideally most of those tax revenues would come from the wealthiest people in the country, who will remain very wealthy even after getting taxed more, then you would be able to pursue a variety of degrees that wouldn't necessarily land you an exceptionally paying job, but would land you a career doing something you gave a damn about, providing value for people in ways that were previously not really viable financially, and therefore are going to have less people doing them. It should not be a revolutionary act or an activist approach to be getting one of these degrees to help people that don't necessarily pay the bills. But right now it is. So that's what I give a shit about AI and automation for. There's a bunch of other shit that goes on that is also worrying. But those are the major ways. The way that capitalists will try to cut labor costs and not have to hire human beings, and instead replace those human beings with AI and automation. That's what I care about. All the infosec stuff is also important, of course. That's way beyond my realm of expertise, because I am a dumbass who doesn't have a college degree, because I didn't have the money to do so. Nor did I really know what I wanted to do with it anyway. I wanted to be like a physicist for a while. That didn't work. I wanted to go into a political science degree and maybe be an elected representative. Now I have no such interest. So now I'm just doing this. I have bumbled my way and lucked my way into this job that I do right now to create content online and entertain people. Complete luck, by the way. I put in a fair amount of work and labor, sure. To the point of almost ruining myself in the beginning. But the majority of it was luck, because I got lucky enough to become friends with a person before they got very popular, and then was able to leech off of their success and get to the point where I am now. And I do think I do good work. I do think that the content that I produce, at least for my YouTube channel, but also just the entertainment value of my more chill live stream segments, is worthwhile to people. Clearly it is, because people enjoy it. And I feel good doing it, especially the politically oriented things, because this is stuff I give a shit about. But I am under no delusions that I am exceptional for being in this position. I got very lucky. I honestly only discovered you because you were playing the Super Mario 64 based. My roommates currently think you can just go into making YouTube content thinking you're going to make money, because I think it's just like any other business. People just do it for fun to start. Well, I did it to start for money. I've been consistent about this. The reason why I started streaming is because I worked a day job for the previous 7-8 years of my life that I fucking hated. Making money for some dickhead who I never met. So I thought, okay, well, it doesn't seem likely I'll get a good job to be able to pay off the loans for any student debt I might accrue to try to get a degree. Also, I don't know what I would try to get a degree for, and also I don't know if I would be able to get a job from it anyway. So, given that, and given the fact that I was done and my mental state was really bad working that day job in the same industry that I had been in for fucking 7-8 years by that point, I was like, okay, well, how about I start streaming on Twitch? So I made, my accounts. I had been watching Twitch for like a decade already since it was just in TV. I was very familiar with the space, blah, 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 blah. First ever stream was Smash Ultimate and art. Eventually, I started doing some political content in the form of video essays that I would record live, which are the first videos on my YouTube channel. I dabbled a little bit in React content after that, and after that, my main content was just me speedrunning a ROM hack of Super Mario 64 called Star Revenge 7 Park of Time in the 120 star category. Got 3rd place, now I'm 4th. But the monotony of that, and the fact that I was still working a day job at the time I was doing this, because I was living alone and paying all my own bills, living in the middle of bumfuck nowhere because it's the only place I could afford, I got tired of it. However, I got lucky that I became friends with a guy before he got popular, and then he started doing very well financially, and now I live here, and I'm able to split living costs, and that's literally the only reason I'm allowed to keep doing what I'm doing. It is possible by this point that I might be able to live on my own again, should, God forbid, things go sideways, and still maintain doing this as my job. But it's likely that I would have to find people to split living costs with again. And now here I am, through profound amounts of luck. I was given an opportunity to focus on my content shit, and now I've been able to make it into a thing that could potentially pay my bills in the future should I have to live alone again. So like I've been very consistent that I started making content because I was hoping to maybe find a career path doing something I actually gave a fuck about, compared to, you know, the previous 8 years of my life doing some shit I didn't give a damn about, barely getting paid for the amount of labor that I did, making money for some dickhead douchebag that I never had met. And that's why everybody does it. That's why most people are doing it. And I'm not saying that most people get in it for the money or whatever. And there are people that are in a genuinely good financial position, like, you know, kids from middle-class households that have, like, the equipment to stream or whatever, and are able to pursue that earlier on because their parents are doing well and blah, blah, blah. You know, more power to them. I did not have such a luxury coming from a poor family and staying poor my entire life. It is possible that there are people that started as a hobby, but there are also a substantial amount of people that started with the hopes of being able to make it into a career. That's why everybody wants to sell a t-shirt. That's why everybody wants to be a content creator. That's why being a YouTuber is one of the most popularly cited what I want to be when I grow up to kids, because it is the most appealing job prospect that we can see. Everybody wants to sell t-shirts. Everybody wants to be a content creator, not necessarily because the job itself seems exceptionally interesting, but because it seems like at least you're doing some shit you give a damn about. At least you're putting your person into what you're doing. There's a sense of humanization and identification that you have with what you're doing because you're producing it that makes you feel good. And people want to enjoy the work that they do in order to pay the bills. We don't have that in society that much anymore unless you get lucky, either by being born to wealthy parents or getting lucky in either ways. There is a lot of work involved in a lot of this too, like trying hard in school, getting a scholarship. I did not do that. Or trying hard in the content realm and whatever. But by and large, the prospects do not look good. Nobody wants to work a 9-to-5. Nobody wants to have to go to school in America because they don't want to have to be saddled with student loan debt for the crime of going to school and pursuing a higher education like they've been told their entire fucking lives to do. So content creation is just the way to go. It's like, okay, well, I'll just do that and hopefully it'll happen. That's why I became a content creator. And I got lucky. And I'm not even doing that well. I'm doing all right. What do I have 97 viewers right now on Twitch. I'm doing pretty well. I'm almost at 45k subs on YouTube. My videos are regularly getting like 10k plus views. That's pretty good for me. That's better than I've ever seen. It's a constant upward trend, with some dips here and there. But by and large, I am nobody. I am a who-megalol. I am doing trash compared to the highest echelons of success you can reach. And yeah, that's difficult. Like, the fact that I am doing better than I ever have in, like, the last 3 or 4 years I've been trying to do this thing, the fact that it is luck that I've been able to pursue it in the capacity that I have, like in an adversarial relationship, I guess, with my own mental health, constantly battling executive dysfunction, ADHD, depression, demotivation, other fucking shit that I have going on, like my sinus and allergy issues, my optical disability, keratoconus, that I'm still trying to fucking not make me blind. Like, in spite of all this shit, the fact that I am trans in America, like, I'm not working at this shit as hard as I possibly could. And I would never lie to you and say that I am. That said, I think I do a good amount of, you know, I try at least a little bit. I think my content's pretty good nowadays. It was rough for a while, but I've kind of figured it out now. And that's all just practice, because I've been streaming for as long as I have been. But like on Twitch, I'm a nobody. On YouTube, I'm a nobody, but on Twitch, I'm a more of a nobody. But I'm doing better than I was before. How long did it feel to take until you feel like you were actually starting to make it? I still don't, Exol. I don't know why you're under this illusion that I feel like I'm making it. I still don't. Now, it is true that there are a lot of other content creators out there doing a lot better than I am that also don't feel that way. Imposter syndrome, sussy, etc., etc. And that's going to be a consistent thing, I think, for most people. It just seems to be a very basic human thing to feel that way. But I think in an objective sense, I can look at my analytics and how long, like how many years I've put into trying to do this and kind of like map out the trajectory that I'm on compared to, you know, what I could be on and all this other shit. For being in this shit for 3 to 4 years, I'm not doing nearly as well as I could be. And I know why. One of the major things is that I don't network. I don't collab with other people because I am socially stupid. I am socially redacted. I have difficulty collabing with people because I've always been a lone wolf. I've never had a lot of friends. I've never been super social. And that's one of the main things that holds me back. Because Networking is the majority of the ways you're going to get more viewers on your stuff, more eyeballs on your shit, which, you know, promotes your shit in the algorithm, gets you more money, yada, yada, yada. If I was doing that, then maybe I'd be doing better. Surely you feel different about how well you're doing now than how you're doing the first year. Yeah, no shit. I see the numbers going up. I see the upward trend. But if I map out my finances and compare it against the cost of living of a place I want to live, not looking that great in terms of being able to make it my full-time gig. And that's my marker for success, because I live in a society. You could be like, oh, well, the money isn't everything. I mean, surely if you enjoy what you're doing, you think you're having a positive impact, you're entertaining people, perhaps providing education or information or edutainment type shit. Like, surely that makes you feel good, and that's a marker for success. And I guess, sure, yeah, it is. It does make me feel good. People tell me all the time how much my videos help them in a variety of ways, but I live in a society. So I necessarily have to measure the success of what I'm doing by how profitable is it, how well does it pay my bills, and what does the prospect for my financial security look like in the future. I live in a society where I need to make money to pay for shelter, food, water, you know? So I have to necessarily mark success against that. And it's up in the air. I'm doing pretty decently, but, you know, I might have to move to a lower cost of living area, which I don't want to have to do in order to maintain it. Unless I, like God forbid, I have to live alone again, which is always going to be on my mind. I have constant, permanent poverty brain because I've been poor my whole life, because I've seen the struggles of my parents, my family, yada, yada, yada. Being the child of an immigrant and a constantly working mom. I've seen it. Shit sucks. Lived it. The average one-person apartment in the U.S. now costs more than a full-time minimum wage. Imagine my shock. And this also, by the way, like, I started streaming. I started trying to make content in a real way. Like, I guess we could look at the, what is it, Twitch tracker? Yeah. My first ever stream was February 2019. That was when I first started doing content in somewhat of a real way. Now, around the 20th of August was when I started actually trying to do content in a real way. That's when the first YouTube videos I put out on the YouTube channel was recorded, where I would have these big-ass fucking scripts that I would do live recordings of on my Twitch stream, because I thought that was a fun idea. Kind of like filmed in front of a live studio audience or whatever. I would do multiple takes, blah, 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 blah. That's when I was really putting work in to do the research, to do the script writing, to record it, to do the editing, all the shit on my own. But this is not the first time I tried to do content. There were several times in the past where I thought it might be cool to make content online, because I had been watching Justin TV, which was what Twitch was before Twitch was Twitch. I'd been watching YouTube since around it became a thing that existed, maybe a little bit after. I wanted to make YouTube video, like, Let's Plays for a while. I actually tried. I recorded a Let's Play of the first, like, level or two of Rocket Robot on Wheels, which is a Nintendo 64 game that I played as a kid. Now, this was not live, obviously, but it was dog shit, and I didn't keep up with it. Eventually, I wanted to try, and this was like, this might have been when I was still in high school, and I graduated in 2014. That was a long time ago. I also potentially wanted to make League of Legends content. So theoretically, if I had so one of the major things that held me back is that I didn't have a good computer. I didn't have a good computer. I didn't have good audio equipment. I didn't have good, like, camera shit. Now, of course, at the time, not a lot of people did. It was very early in the game. It was going to be rare that you had really good audio, video, etc. Now it's the standard. And now there's like an entire industry built around providing those things for people. But back then, that was not the case. Also, live streaming was more difficult. Now everybody has OBS, a based program that has remained free. And like the recording software that I was using, it was very rudimentary. So like I didn't have access to a lot of shit like that. So that also kind of held me back. Also, all my life shit going on with school and whatnot. So like there is an argument to be made that theoretically, if I was given more time or had the resources to dedicate to doing that kind of content, I could have gotten in on the ground floor of Twitch live streaming and YouTube video content creation. Theoretically. Now, there's no way to know if it would happen. I don't think it would be likely. But the chances of that happening were significantly diminished to the point that it didn't, because I did not have a good, financial situation living. And this is me talking about like doing fucking content creation shit. Like, imagine me talking about, like, wanting to do some shit that actually made a difference in the world. You know what I mean? What is that famous quote? I forget who it's by. Something along the lines of, I am less interested in something or other Einstein's brain than the possibility that many more people like that will have toiled and died in sweatshops and whatnot. Essentially saying that there are so many people that could have had the capacity to be as influential to the world and provide as much to the world as somebody like Einstein did, which I'm not comparing myself to. I'm a dumbass content creator online. But they didn't because they were held back because of the society that they lived in. The fact that they had to go work in sweatshops for slave wages or literally in slavery and could have had the potential to be that impactful, but were not given the ability to at least try. Stephen J. Gould? Ah, yes, the classic. From Stephen J. Gould, evolutionary biologist and author. I am somehow less interested in the weight and convolutions of Einstein's brain than in the near certainty that people of equal talent have lived and died in cotton fields and sweatshops. It's true. Which is to circle back to what we were originally talking about, which is to say that automation is not inherently bad. AI automating things is also not inherently bad. It's the way that you use the tools that are AI and automation that can make them bad. If we allowed for automation to replace the manual labor that it is capable of replacing and free up those humans from having to do those jobs to keep society moving and provided for them a standard of living such that they did not have to do whatever manual labor or be homeless or destitute financially, allowed them to have a good quality of living, there are so many people that automation could free up that amount of time to do, that people of equal talent to Einstein do not have to, at that point, live and die in cotton fields and sweatshops. You would provide for the potential for people to, and they might not always, in fact, you imagine the majority would not, but you would increase the potential that influential, impactful, and incredibly beneficial people and groups and movements in our society have the ability to come to fruition and flourish if you do not force them into wage slavery, if you do not force them into financial destitution, if you do not force them into homelessness, because you don't know how to run a society, because you do not know how to run a civilized society. And there aren't not a lot of countries out there that have been able to do this. There are a lot that have been able to, that have tried and done fairly well compared to the USA. Obviously, you look to the still capitalist, social democratic leaning countries in Europe for an example of that, which is certainly better. And, you know, frankly, I think that the greatest country the face of the earth has ever seen, the richest country the face of the earth has ever seen, the United States of goddamn America, has the capacity to be that. Has the capacity to provide for its people a decent standard of living, healthcare, higher education, decent paying jobs. I think that there is nothing that America cannot do. But there are not a lot of people in this country that believe that. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that don't believe that seem to also be in positions of power. Because they don't want to believe it. Because they enjoy the position that they're in. They enjoy allowing for the wealthy to continue to keep everybody else down for their benefit. It's unfortunate. Because we have more resources than we know what to do with. We live in a post-scarcity society. We throw food away. We overproduce. It's just a matter of logistics. We're not hurting for supply, we're hurting for an ability to get the supply to the people that need it. And there are a variety of very powerful corporations, capital owners, and the politicians that are either those same capital owners or also getting donations from them, etc., that have an interest in maintaining a kind of class-based society where they stay rich and everybody else stays poor. Because I believe that the human, species has the capacity to utilize its resources in a better way. But it's difficult to achieve. And, at this point, I'm just preaching to the choir, I guess. This is not some unique shit to me that you've never heard before. What kind of consideration have you given to living outside the US? If you're just scraping by as a content creator in the US, you could probably do the same thing, making the same money in a place like South Africa and live very comfortably. I live here. I was born here, my family's here. I enjoy living here. And I'm not particularly excited in giving up on this country because the dumbasses in power don't know how to fucking run it. I would like to see it become better. Because for me, simply moving to a different country for less cost of living, it doesn't help anybody but me. When I talk about wanting to change society for the better by providing people healthcare, by providing people higher education access, by providing people a better quality of life wholesale, that is talking about everybody, not just me. For me to move to another place because it's less cost of living, that is a selfish decision. And it only helps me. What the fuck is the point? I'm not the only person on the earth, and I'm gonna be dead one day. And there are still gonna be people here. That's the fundamental difference between leftists generally and capitalists. So conservatives, right-wingers. You know, as close to the left as you can possibly get being a capitalist. Is that I'm not really interested in just benefiting myself. And that's like the talking point that you always hear from right-wingers. It's like, oh, well, these people, they only want the wealthiest people in society to subsidize healthcare or higher education because those specific individuals who are advocating for that, well, they're going to get the help from it, and that's what they want. They're not there to try to get it for everybody. They just want it for themselves. But that's like literally an inherently redacted argument, right? That doesn't make any sense. If I'm advocating for a policy or policies that by design help every single person in the country, then clearly I'm not just doing it for myself. If I'm advocating for changes at a systemic level, I am not the only person who lives in the system. My ideology necessarily entails helping as many people as possible, not just myself. Of course, I exist in the society and in the system, so I would be helped as well, sure, but I'm not the only one. This kind of strict adherence to a class-based society and keeping the haves and have-nots in their place is a selfish one. It is one that people have because they want to be the haves, right? Either they already have the money and power, or they're the temporarily embarrassed millionaires. You know, George Carlin said it best, it's a big club and you ain't in it. This video is kind of called a CDRCH, aka CD's nuts. Really appreciate the continued support and for being a frequent chatter in my live stream chat. Keep it up. If you'd like to be the next Conure Callout, all you can do is follow me on Twitter, @ConureCC, retweet my video links when they go live. Remember to subscribe to the channel, put on notifications on, the bell, leave a like if you'd like, comment something down below about how automation could be cool if capitalism wasn't a fuck, and have a good day.